Hello, I'm Crystelle Pereira. I'm a cook and a baker, and today I'm in the Food52 Kitchen making my Amaretto coffee Basque cheesecake from my brand new cookbook, Flavor Kitchen. So my cookbook is here to basically show you to use really fun, interesting and original flavors in your everyday cooking and baking, but in a really easy and accessible way. The inspiration behind this dish specifically, I love coffee, and I once had coffee with amaretto in it, and it was incredible. And I also love cheesecake. So I thought, okay, well, how can I do a baked cheesecake where you don't have to use a water bath? And a Basque cheesecake is perfect because you stick it in the oven. And what I guess gives Basque cheesecake their characteristic charm is the top gets really caramelized. So you've got this sort of smoky sweetness, which goes really, really well with the coffee in this recipe. So there's quite a few cheesecakes in the book, but this is probably one of my favorite ones. So what you're gonna do is start with a bit of hot water, just a couple of tablespoons. And then you want to get some instant coffee or espresso powder. And you're just gonna add this into the hot water and just stir this around to dissolve it. And then we're gonna add maple syrup into this coffee mixture. Oh, literally my two favorite things. So we're gonna heat this until it's bubbling and it's reduced by about half. So you can see, because of the water, and we just wanna get it back down to a really nice thick consistency so it doesn't affect the overall consistency of the cheesecake. Okay, so this is bubbling away. You don't want it to be super thick, but you just want it to almost resemble the maple syrup pre-coffee liquid addition, just because you want to basically just burn off all that extra moisture that you added in. We're now going to let this cool down, so you just want to pour this into a bowl, just because obviously if it stays in the pan, it will continue to sort of cook in the residual heat. Okay, so now we're going to make the cheesecake base. So obviously we're going to start with cream cheese. So we're gonna put this in a stand mixer. You can also use an electric whisk by hand or just do the whole thing by hand. But we're going with a padded attachment, and the reason why is because you wanna get this nice and smooth. So this isn't really about adding air to the mixture. We're just trying to mix all the ingredients so they're nice and homogeneous and we've got a really smooth batter. So now for sweetness, we're using two different types of sugar. They're both sort of brown types of sugar. So this is soft light brown sugar, and this is gonna add a really nice sort of caramel sweetness. And then this is golden superfine sugar. You can, if you can't get hold of the golden one, you can use white superfine sugar. But again, this just pairs really well with the light brown sugar and then the maple syrup, because we're going for really nice caramel tones, because obviously you've got the coffee and the amaretto, so it just works really well. You'll notice in all of my recipes, there is always salt or something salty in sweet dishes and vice versa. And it's something my mum taught me, because salt is a flavor enhancer and it always brings out the sweetness, which sounds counterintuitive, but it works. So now we're gonna beat this for about 2 to 3 minutes, just until it's nice and smooth. And you wanna stop it just every few minutes and just scrape down the sides, just so you get all that sugar mixed in with the cream cheese. So you just want to mix it until it's all sort of smooth. You've got no more grains of sugar left in there. Okay, this looks good. Looks nice and smooth, but you can see it's very smooth. Now, because this is a baked cheesecake, we're gonna add eggs, which is gonna provide a lot of structure as well. So I've got 4 eggs here. There's quite a lot of eggs for the cheesecake, but it just works. I don't know, it's science. So you wanna add them in one by one and mix in between each addition, just so they incorporate and they mix through thoroughly. And you wanna make sure you do this just one by one, because eggs are a binding agent as well. So if you add them in all in one go and they're not fully incorporated, it can just affect the structure of your cheesecake. So you don't want that. So we have got sour cream. Sour cream is quite common in cheesecake. And again, it's a really lovely ingredient because it just balances things out. In cheesecake, you want that slight sourness in there. And it just stops the cheesecake from becoming sickly sweet. And then we've also got heavy cream. So that's gonna go in as well. You don't need to whip it. It just goes straight into the sour mixer. And then we're gonna give this another quick mix. Okay, so that is almost the cheesecake, the sort of the base cheesecake done. It's thick, but it is more runny than sort of your no-bake cheesecake. which is normal. But what we're gonna do, just provide a tiny bit of structure. We literally have the smallest amount of flour. Where is she? That amount, but that is just enough just to provide a tiny bit of structure. So when it bakes, this cheesecake is very soft and you can sort of just, your knife will fall through it, but you want a tiny bit of bite just so it sort of holds its shape a bit. So what we're gonna do is just sift that in. You just wanna add this in bit by bit, and then you wanna sift in a little bit, then you wanna fold that in gently with a spatula just to make sure that the flour is really nicely incorporated in the batter. Okay, so this is where we're gonna turn a regular Basque cheesecake into the best Basque cheesecake you've ever had in your life. The way we're gonna do that is we're just gonna get this batter, divide it into two, and then we're gonna flavor kind of one batch of batter with amaretto and the other bit with coffee. So we're gonna actually do a slightly less for the amaretto batter, so about a quarter. This Basque cheesecake batter is gonna get the amaretto, obviously. Now, obviously, amaretto's got a lovely almond flavor, so we're gonna add a tiny bit of almond extract as well. And then almond is synonymous with vanilla, so we've got vanilla bean paste. You can use vanilla extract, but if you can get your hands on it, vanilla bean paste has got so much more flavor. So you can just mix this all together, and this is gonna smell absolutely incredible. Now, the coffee mixture. So you just get the rest of your Basque cheesecake. So that is about 3/4. Now this, all we're adding is that delicious coffee maple syrup mixture from before. Oh, look at that. Oh, this looks so good. Okay, so our batter's done. So now we're basically gonna prep our tin and then we're gonna bake it. So we're gonna double line our tins. We've got an 8-inch cake tin and we've got some parchment paper. So you wanna kind of get a piece slightly bigger than your tin. It's pretty neat. Now, to help it fit in the tin, I know I'm not gonna chuck this out, but this is gonna make it really malleable. And then you unravel it, and this becomes really easy to just fit into your cake tin. So, we're gonna put this in our tin like that. And it should stick out the top. And the reason why is your cheesecake is basically gonna grow a bit and then it will sink, but this just ensures that your cheesecake has as much height as possible. You've got your one piece of parchment paper in, but no, we're not stopping there, we're gonna put 2 pieces. And by double lining it, because you'll notice that when you put one piece of parchment paper in, you've got a tall bit, but then a low bit, a tall bit and a low bit. So by double lining it, we're gonna make sure that these low bits are also covered as well, if that makes sense. You can actually, just to make sure it sticks out, if you kind of press it around the edge, then it will stop it from kind of falling inside the tin, and then you can lift it up. Are you ready for this? Can't wait. In she goes. Oh, yum. And obviously get your spatula because we are not wasting any of this batter. It is too tasty to waste. So get it all into your cake tin. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pour this in, but you're basically gonna pour it in like a bit of a circle so it's got a swirl. This looks really cool. This looks a bit like an artistic canvas, but you've got these 2 contrasting colors. You've got the lovely dark brown, like coffee mixture, and then you've got the white amaretto mixture with the little flecks of vanilla. It looks so stunning. And now what we're gonna do this is visual, but also it's really important for the actual cheesecake itself. You're gonna get a spatula, or you can also use a long skewer. And all you're gonna do is just swirl around the batter. And this is gonna make sure that, again, it's basically all dispersed. So you've got a bit of coffee and amaretto in every bite. And look at this. Oh, it's so pretty. And make sure you put your spatula right down to the bottom of the cheesecake mixture because there is gonna be cheesecake in every layer. This is so stunning. The last thing we're gonna do before this goes in the oven is we're gonna pick it up, and then by doing this, you're just knocking out any air bubbles, and you'll see a few bubbles on the surface that will just pop. And now we bake. So I've got my oven preheated to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very hot. Basically, you want your oven to be as hot as physically possible, which sounds very unconventional, but this is what a Basque cheesecake does, is you're gonna bake it at a really, really high heat. The top is gonna caramelize, it's gonna burn. But that is what you want because you want the top to, it basically chars, but because you've got all the sugar in there, it caramelizes and you've got this smokiness, a sweetness with the maple and the coffee and the amaretto. It's gonna taste amazing. And with most baked cheesecakes, it will go in low and slow and it'll bake for like an hour. This is high, so really high heat, and it's only gonna bake for 25 to 30 minutes. So it's short and fast, which is also great because no one's got time for a long, slow bake these days. She is hot, she is smoking. Look at her. Ah, and also, wait, let me show you actually. You wanna see the jiggle. Look at that. There is a nice wobble in there, and that's what you want. So what you can see, this looks like such a beautiful, characteristic, charming Basque cheesecake. I just can't wait to eat this. But you must exercise a bit of patience because you have to let this cool at room temperature, stick it in the fridge for a couple of hours so it sets completely, and then we can dig in. I can't wait. Okay, here she is. So this has been in the fridge chilling for a few hours. But all I will say is before you eat, try and leave it at room temperature, maybe for an hour, just so it's sort of, I don't know, it's sort of a bit more kind of kind of aligned with you. So you can lift out the cheesecake from the tip. So, I cannot wait. I love cheesecake and I told you I'm greedy, so I'm gonna go for a nice wedge out your slice of cheesecake. And now you just eat. Oh my gosh. I think it's impossible to have a bite of this and not smile because I'm just very happy right now. So if you want the recipe, you want to make it yourself, and I really recommend you do, head over to Food52's website, or you can grab a copy of my cookbook, Flavor Kitchen, where you'll find over 70 recipes just like these, sweet and savory, cooking and baking. They're all packed full of flavor, obviously, but they're also very fun to make and eat because you must eat everything you make, of course. Thank you very much.